again, this is Justine. Today I want to talk about recovery and I want to talk about support systems. I feel like it is very important to have support when you're dealing with an eating disorder and when you're deciding to get better. However, since eating disorders are very secretive, sometimes we don't want to be open with anybody. I mean, even the closest people in our lives, we're still kind of debating if we should open up to them or not. So it's really difficult to feel support, even if you do indeed have support of your friends or family or spouse. You may not be able to have the capacity to feel it if you're so lost within your own eating disorder. Definitely want to make it known that you do always have support, whether you feel it or not, and whether you see it or not. We are always supported, and that's something that's very difficult to trust sometimes, but we're always supported in some way. And, you can believe whatever you want, but I definitely believe that we're always supported by the universe, and I definitely believe that, we are provided for. It's very important to just kind of trust that somewhere inside your being, as hard as it may be. So for me, I didn't really feel that I had any support from my friends or family when I was dealing with anorexia. My family was very, very secretive, and they still are, and half of my family doesn't even know that I had anorexia for 5 years. It's not just coming out to strangers and friends. It's a bigger deal for me to come out to my family, really, to own up to that and not be ashamed of that. There's going to be people in my family, guaranteed, that are going to speculate and that are probably going to talk about it. And I know my parents might be not too impressed that the whole family's going to know now, but you know what? I'm just at the point now where I'm tired of hiding. I'm tired of being secretive about it, because I can make a difference and I can get my message out there, which is what I'm doing. And, whether people like it or not, or if they think it's weird or not, or at the end of the day, I need to do what I need to do and what I feel called to do. And though it may seem kind of crazy and not typical for someone to, follow their heart and just to trust their intuition and trust their own inner guidance, if you will, that's what I'm here to do, and that's what I do, and I've found that every time I've done that, it has really paid off. So even though I'm not a doctor, and I don't want to be a doctor, and I don't want to be a guidance counselor, and I don't want to go work in hospitals with people that, are struggling with eating disorders, I want to do this on my own. I want to do this in my own special, unique way, and we all have a special and unique way to get out our own messages and talents and gifts, and yeah. What I want to mention, this is very important, it's never too early to seek help. And that is something that I really want to get out there, because whether you're even thinking about starting an eating disorder, it's not too early to seek help, and it's not too early to catch yourself and to start, changing for the better and making a choice to love yourself more. It's never too early to start that process. And what I also really want to stress is that there are so many different ways to recover, and it is different for each and every one of us. They have programs that are available, and it varies per city and per country, probably. Just really, really varies. And what I want to say is that for some people, it works this way. Some people, they do the typical route, and that works for them. They can go to the hospital and recover, period. They probably have a similar thing to a 12-step somewhere. I mean, there's just so many different ways. They also have self-help books, and they have eating disorder books that you can read, and you can kind of do your own personal work. There's no right way to do it or to heal yourself, and I'm not here to sit here and say this is how you're going to heal yourself and this is the one way to do it. Not at all. This is different for everybody. Everybody's journey is different. Everybody's healing process is different, and you need to get to a point where you can love yourself enough to figure out what works for you. Find out what's going to work for you. You can try a few different things, and that's what I did. I did go to a couple of meetings. I went to a local mental health facility and was just starting to do their eating disorder program. And I only did that not because I wanted to, but because my parents wanted me to, and this was when I was in high school. And I went a couple times, and for me, it just didn't resonate with me. I knew inside that I could do it on my own. And so I went a couple times and I gave it a go, and I just said, you know what, this is not going to work for me. And this may work for some people, and I am by no means discrediting doctors or any eating disorder programs at all. I think, they're all great, and we all have to find our own ways to heal. And so for me, I just kind of always knew inside that I am a very strong person, and I knew that I could get through it on my own. And I believe that I was told at this eating disorder place that it is possible to heal yourself, but they basically said, the odds aren't very high. It's not very likely that you'll be able to heal yourself. It's probably less than 10% of people that can do it on their own and stay recovered. However, I didn't let that stop me. I knew that I could definitely get better, and I did. So I'm here to tell you that, if that's the route for you and if that resonates with you, then you could totally do it, because I did it. And again, it's not about saying that's the only way. I'm not discrediting any doctors or any eating disorder programs, because they're out there for a reason. I just want to get my message out there, which is that every single person has it within themselves to get better. Essentially, doctors and programs are just reminding us of who we are and what we already know somewhere deep inside of us. And sometimes we get so lost within our eating disorders and within our addictions that we just forget who we are. We forget our essence, we forget who we are at a soul level, we forget what we love, and we just get so lost sometimes. And they help us remember the things that we've forgotten, right? So that's essentially, in the simplest way possible, that's what doctors and programs do. They are trained and they know things about psychology, and that's great. And they kind of can help people because they're not telling people, what to do necessarily. They're reminding you of what's already inside you. They're telling you what you already know somewhere inside you, and things that you've just kind of forgotten. We all need something different to spark that within us, to remind us of who we are and stuff like that. And sometimes it takes a doctor, and sometimes it takes a program, and sometimes it takes rehab, and sometimes, for me, it was just my spiritual journey that just kind of came up, and there have been many things that have, just sparked it within myself when I was strong enough by myself and on my own to recover without a doctor having to spark something within me, and without a program having to spark something within me. And so I want to get the message out there that we all do have the inner strength, and we all do definitely have the power to heal and to get better on our own. It's just sometimes we need someone else to kind of come along and shed a little bit of light and spark something within us so we can remember, oh yeah, that's who I am. I'm not a disorder. I am not a flawed being. I am a perfectly imperfect person, and I'm so much more than my body, and I'm more than my appearance. I'm more than my weight, and to kind of just remember those things and to remember who you are. And something that's also important to remember is, like I was saying earlier, it's never too early to get help, because what we need to remember here is if we're not eating properly, then we're not getting any nutrients. And what happens is, our body starts to shut down and our brain starts to not function properly, which is why it's so difficult for us to remember who we are and to remember what's right and what's wrong and what's healthy and what's not. Because if we're not eating and we're not getting the right nutrients, then, we're just kind of lost, and then it becomes so foggy and so messy inside of our heads. And that's why sometimes we do need a doctor, and sometimes we do need a program, but essentially, we always have it within us to get better. We can heal ourselves, and, if you feel that you are strong enough to heal yourself, please know that you can, because I did, and I'm a walking example of it. And if you do need someone to spark it, maybe I'm that person to spark that for you, to remind you of who you are, and to remind you of your inner strength, to remind you that you're not a disease, you're not anything else but an awesome being that's deserving of love always. And, maybe you need a doctor, or maybe you need a program, but I'm not here to tell you what's right and what's wrong and what's right for you, and nobody else can tell you what's going to work for you and what's going to help you heal. The only one that knows is you. And as confusing as it really can be, especially if you're not eating properly, or if you're not eating at all and you're lacking nutrients and you're lacking energy, it does become really complicated and confusing, and it can get to the point where you're like, I don't know what's right and what's wrong. And I've definitely been at that point as well. I was very aware that there were two sides, that there was a side of me saying, hey, this is not right, there's something about this that is not right, that, you're not treating yourself very well, you're not loving yourself, you're not feeding yourself, this isn't healthy. And then there's the other part of me that becomes very, very convincing, which is the eating disorder, which lives up in here in your ego, and basically that says, well, you are defined by your image and by your weight, and you'll be accepted if you're skinnier, if you're thinner, you'll be more beautiful if you're thinner, and all those things are completely BS, by the way, but the lines get crossed, it gets blurry, it gets messy. If you're not eating properly, your brain starts to get a little wonky and you can't really see straight or think straight anymore, and that's okay. But just please remember that it's okay, and you can figure it out on your own. The answer is always within you somewhere, and it's not going to be up here in your confused brain. It's in here. The answer is always in here. It's in your heart, it's in your soul. Somewhere inside of your being, you know what's right for you. You know that you are strong enough to heal your eating disorder. You know that you're a person that's awesome and that's worthy of love and that is very loved by so many people and by the universe. And you know that somewhere inside yourself. And even at this very moment, if you don't know how to get help, or you don't know what's going to work for you, or if you don't know if you should see a doctor or go to a program, or if you have tried those and it hasn't worked for you, somewhere within you, you know that you're strong enough to kick this disorder in the butt, and somewhere inside you, even if it's really, really tiny in here somewhere, it's there, and that voice is there. It's always going to be there. It can never leave you. It will never go away. And I know that it's so hard to hear it sometimes, but it's always there. And you can figure it out, because no one else can tell you how to heal your eating disorder. No one else can tell you what's right or wrong, or which program you should go to, or which doctor you should see, or if you could do it on your own, or if you can't, because the only person that knows is you. And I'm here to tell you that you can heal, that you can get better. And I didn't have much support at all. My family was very secretive about it. I was secretive about it. Not many of my friends knew about it. I didn't feel like I had any support. And I battled anorexia for 5 years. And if I got through it on my own and through my spiritual journey, then you can too. And it is possible to heal. It is possible to be happy and to be healthy and to attract healthy relationships and people and positive stuff into your life. But that can only happen when you take some time to love yourself first. Realize that you're the only one who knows what to do inside. Deep down somewhere, I know it's hard to hear, but it's in there somewhere. And we all have different ways of getting better, and just trust that you'll find your way. And it doesn't happen overnight. You might have to try a few different ways to recover. You may have to hear a few different speeches. You may have to read a few different books. It varies per case and per person, and just please know that somewhere inside of you, you do know the answer. You do know that you can get better. And you do know that you're strong enough to get better. We are all strong enough to heal our eating disorders. It's in us somewhere, even if it gets foggy. In my next video, I'm going to talk about the fogginess and the two different sides. The side that says, this is right, and the side that says this is wrong. And how those lines get really crossed and it gets blurry and messy and all that stuff. So I'm going to go into that even further in my next video, because what I realized through my spiritual journey was that it's your ego and your mind versus your heart and your soul. And that is something that really helped me recover. Because when I was dealing with anorexia, I couldn't define it. I didn't know what it was inside of me that was saying, this is right, this is wrong. I just knew that I was always aware that there were two parts inside of me somewhere saying, one side saying, this is good, the side saying, not so much, this isn't good. And, it helps to kind of define that a little bit. because you can understand where it's coming from, and then it becomes a little bit easier to decide which one that you should listen to. So anyways, that's all I have for today. I hope you have a wonderful day, and we'll talk soon. Bye.